This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome back to the Fan Reporter Show made by fans for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and my boy Andrew right across from me is going to give us this week's topic.
So USA predicts the Lions to finish 3-13. Too harsh? We'll also give our boldest predictions for the NFC North, and maybe, if time permits, we'll rap about some movies to close the pod.
Oh, you struggled with that a few times.
Jeez, I don't know why it's such a tongue twister. Movies to close the pod. I couldn't get that out.
I don't know, man. You heard the man. We definitely want to get in. We definitely want to save some time for that because there was a lot to talk about from San Diego Comic-Con. But first,
I just got a little breaking news alert.
A breaking news alert. Well, what was it? Let's hear it.
It's nothing like crazy or anything, but It's not even breaking. It's just a funny news alert that I got. It has to do
breaking news.
It has to do with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The crew was urged to avoid making eye contact with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yikes! Why? I know he's like crazy on set, but like, why?
I don't know.
Yikes!
That's a weird demand. Make sure no one makes eye contact with him.
That is a very weird demand that kind of scares me a little bit. But anyways, excuse me. Yes, so we do have a Lions talking point today. USA Today released their predictions. Their USA Today writer, I should say, released his predictions for the NFL season, giving his divisional standings with each team's record by the end of the season.
Nate Davis.
He has the Lions, Cardinals, Redskins, and Dolphins and Bengals all finishing the season with the same record at 3-13. Now, I highly doubt there's going to be 5 teams that only have 3 wins, with another one having a 4-win season. I highly doubt that's going to happen. But him saying the Lions finished 3-13, he's obviously got very little expectations of the Lions this season, bringing in a new offense coordinator in Darrell Bevell, which you could argue is something that will cause some growing pains. It normally does take a season or two to implement a new offensive system. That's exactly what Darrell Bevell's going to do. I mean, we even saw with much of last season with the defense in the new system with Paul Pasqualoni and Matt Patricia as well. We saw some growing pains there until Snacks Harrison pretty much came around and said, I'm going to hold down this running game, and it did to the extreme. I've never seen one man impact in a facet of the game like Snacks Harrison impacts the run-stopping abilities of your defense. It was incredible.
He snacks on the running backs.
I'm very glad. Very. I think that deserves one of those. I'm very glad that he's decided he's not going to hold out in training camp. He will be back. So that's a good thing. I feel like he
placed Flowers on the PUP list today.
I heard it was a very minor injury, though. I did hear it was a very minor injury that's keeping him on the PUP list for training camp. That's the PUP list in training camp. A lot of times, from what I've seen, is a very precautionary thing. Of we just don't want to take risks, and I feel like with all the money that they invested in Trey Flowers, that's okay. I'm okay with him starting the PUP list. As long as he's ready by regular season. He not just healthy, but ready to play. But anyways, I wanted to talk a little bit about the USA Today writer's predictions. His name is Nate Davis, to be exact. I wanted to talk about...
already.
Oh, sorry. God, someone's sassy today. I wanted to talk about his predictions for the Lions and whether or not we determined that they're too harsh, spot on, too high, God forbid. And then I wanted to have a little fun with this, and I want us each to give a bold ass prediction for the NFC North this season. Each one of us, I want each one of us
the boldest of bold predictions.
I mean, you don't have to go that bold, but I just want I want it to be something that people would look at you and say, "The hell are you thinking?"
Yeah.
All right. It doesn't have to be every fan base that thinks that. At least one fan base that thinks that. Anyways, Andrew, how do you feel about the 3-13 prediction?
I mean, so in his article, he cites the fact that 4 of our 8 home home games come against 2018 playoff teams, as well as the fact that none of those include that's not including the Packers or the Vikings, as well as the fact that we have 2 West Coast trips in the first half of the season. So he's basically citing what I cited last podcast of
it's going to be a tough start.
It's really hard for me to envision a winning season this year with this kind of schedule we have, because I do not like our schedule, despite what those schedule rankings would have you believe. But I think 3-13 might be a little low.
Honestly, I think 3-13 is kind of selling this team short a little bit. That would require
fairly upset.
That would require Matthew Stafford to not only play as bad as last season, but arguably worse than last season. And also, you got to remember, we had some injuries on this roster last year that kind of added to the fact that we only won 6 games. Kerryon Johnson going down for an extended period of time. Stafford with the broken back. I know we had some missing pieces on our defense for a certain period of time as well.
Like half a game, maybe.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he actually had an okay season last year, if I recall. He actually had a pretty decent season, if I remember right.
When he was on the field.
When he was on the field, right. But it's just one of those things where I get the idea of what they're getting at here. Yeah. I just don't really agree with it. I think he is selling this team short because, again, you're looking at a worst-case scenario here with the Lions because they have more talent than a 3-win team. Far more talent than a 3-win team. There's no question about that. They were near the top in run stopping last year as soon as Snacks Harrison got in there. I expect that to remain the same. Their pass rush is only going to improve with the addition of Trey Flowers and the health of Eli Harold, the health of Devon Kennard, et cetera, et cetera. I know Trey Flowers is hurt already, but I expect him to be ready. You could argue that the secondary may take a step back. That's fine. I'm going to disagree with that. I think Tracy Walker will hold his own alongside Quandre Diggs. I think Justin Coleman is a solid addition to the secondary. I think the draft pick at corner that we brought in is going to be a solid addition to the secondary. I expect the secondary to actually take a step up this year.
I hope so.
I expect our defense to actually be a little bit better this year. One, they're used to the Patricia Pasqualoni system now. They've got it ingrained into their head. It's not new. It's not foreign. They know what to expect. They know.
Jelani Tavai, Defensive Rookie of the Year.
What?
Jelani Tavai, Defensive Rookie of the Year.
No. I mean, I don't know. I think
I still know next to nothing about that kid. Like outside of just random highlights I watched on YouTube.
I actually expect the corner that we picked up later on in the draft to make a bigger impact than Jelani Tavai. I think he'll get more opportunity as well. But I also expect Matthew Stafford to have a better year than last year. Like, last year statistically was his worst season in his career when he actually played. And that's, I don't expect him to be that bad. I expect him to come up at least a little bit. And for obvious reasons. I mean, the dude's never been that bad in his career. So no question in my mind, does he come back to the mean, come back to the norm a little bit for his caliber of play? And if that happens, the team's going to be better. Because I don't think the defense is taking a step back. I don't think the offense is going to take much of a step back. I mean, why would they? Sure, the right side of their line is a little bit shaky. I understand that. The wide receiver core probably lost a step or two. I understand that. Losing Golden Tate. I understand that. But Kenny Galladay's progression again. Marvin Jones is still there. You still have pieces. And then you added 2 tight ends in TJ Hawkinson and Jesse James that I would expect to make a pretty sizable impact from the get-go.
Yeah.
Healthy carry-on. You added C.J. Anderson, which I think is one of the biggest under-the-radar signings this offseason. He's going to be huge for this team. Granted, I thought the same about LeGarrette Blount, and we saw that panned out. But C.J. Anderson is a good NFL running back.
At least I think C.J. Anderson's considerably younger than Garrett Blount was when we got him.
I'm pretty sure C.J.'s only like 30.
C.J.'s 28.
I was shooting too high. He's not even old. LeGarrette Blount was like 100. A 3-win prediction is straight up disrespectful. This team is better than that. Yeah. It's disrespectful. Right now,
that was too harsh.
Right now, in the here and now, in the present, the Detroit Lions own the Green Bay Packers.
Oh.
They own them.
Are we getting to the bold take territory now? Is that
No.
what's happening? Oh.
No. But it's true. We've won, what, 4 straight against them now? 5 of the last 6? We own them right now. How many times have they ever been able to say that in history?
Just savor the moment.
Yeah, for real. I don't expect it to last long. I predict a split with them. I predict a split with each team in their division. Some of their games that are out west are going to be, a little bit easier. I honestly, I am a little bit worried about Arizona because rookie quarterbacks tend to know how to beat the Lions somehow. Well, Sam Darnold did.
I'm still mad about that game.
And also, the one thing that worries me about the Lions facing Kyler Murray is the newness and unknown about it. When it comes to guys who are not only a passing but also a running threat, if you don't have scouting reports and tendencies on them and what they're going to be in the system, that's scary to me.
It is.
Guys who are dual threat quarterbacks, the biggest threat when it comes to a dual threat quarterback is the unknown. That's why a lot of those guys have their best seasons in the first couple of years. Cam Newton being the exception. Look at RG3. Best season was his first year, no question. It's happened to a couple of guys. The unknown is dangerous when it comes to players like that. And Kyler's no exception here. So I am worried about that aspect of this. But around him, I ain't worried about much. Fitz, early in the season, I'm worried about him. David Johnson, I think you'd be stupid not to be. Outside of that, though, no Patrick Peterson. What are we worried about? Can those 3 guys, can you realistically say those 3 guys can beat you? I mean, technically, yes, but no. So, but outside of that, though, running through their schedule, is it really that hard to find more than 3 wins?
No, not at all.
Because I look at our own division. I look at 3 wins right there. Then you add Arizona to that. That's a 4th. We're already over his prediction. A 3-win season is straight up disrespectful in my mind. This team is better than
now. Home against Tampa, at the Redskins, at Oakland, home against the Giants. There's 4.
Yeah. On the road against Arizona. There's 5. And then you add, that's not without even going into your own division, where I think you at least pick up 2. At least. If you get swept by your division, something's wrong, obviously. But I think you at least pick up 2 of those games. So you're looking at 6, 7 wins there. So you're at worst the same as last year. Your soft games are really soft. Really soft. New York, Arizona, Tampa, Washington.
Let's just say I wish Nate Davis was setting the over-runners in Vegas.
Seriously, if he was setting it at 3.5, dude, I would
hammer that over.
You'd probably not pay out well because that'd be an easy one.
Look at that'd be bet up.
Right. I don't see how you can look at the Lions' schedule and say that there's only 3 wins there when you've got games like Tampa at home. New York at home.
Can you bet like a season record over under? Can you bet that up? Does that move with bets?
I don't think so.
Or is that a stationary?
I think that's a stationary figure. Well, it doesn't move. Once you place your bet, you're locked in at that either way.
No, I know, but like I'm saying, let's say we waited. Like let's say because like let's.
Oh,
say
we waited. It may. I don't think so, but it may.
The over-runners came out what, late May, early June.
Yeah,
right?
something like that.
So let's say we wait till August. Like, could it have been bet up to like 7.5 possibly?
Obviously, it hasn't.
That's because I think that's a
6.5 is pretty much the perfect spot. Yeah. Yes.
I don't think that one's.
I don't understand what you're looking at. What Nate Davis is looking at here, saying this is a 3-win team. Looking at the personnel, the player personnel, not even the coaching. Looking at the schedule, their soft games are very soft. So are they saying they're going to get swept by their division and lose to not just 1 but 2 of Arizona, Washington, Tampa, New York, Oakland? I mean, are we really talking about that right here? Because I'm not. I don't think that happens. Do I think they drop 1 of those games? Yeah. Do I think they drop 2? No. And I definitely don't think they get swept by their own division.
Yeah.
Ford Field gets loud, man. It's a tough place to play.
It is.
Even when the Lions have been bad in years past, that's not always an easy place to play.
But judging from what he has the rest of the division's records at, I think either he has us getting swept in our division or just having like 1 win.
He's got to have us getting swept in our division. Yeah. He's got to have it. Looking at those 5 games, there's no way he doesn't pick at least 3 wins out of that.
Yeah.
What, a loss to Tampa? Okay, I can understand that. And a loss to Oakland? Fine. But home against New York, road against Arizona. I forgot the other one.
Oakland?
Home against Oakland, or is that road?
I think that's road.
Well, I said the Oakland game. It was Oakland, New York, Tampa, Arizona, and
Redskins.
Washington. You really mean to say that you pick 3 wins out of that and you don't pick a single win in your division? I mean, come on. People selling this team short, man.
No, I agree. I'm not saying they're going to be a playoff team, but I think 3-13 is harsh.
And 3-13 is harsh. Yes, I don't expect them to be a playoff team either. I expect them to be around 6-7 wins.
Yeah, that's exactly where I expect them to be. Does that mean I'll be happy if they achieve 6-7 wins? No, I still won't be happy.
No, I want a playoff team out of this. I want this team to make the playoffs. I want to see playoff football, not just playoff football. I want to see playoff football in Detroit, damn it. Win a division.
There you go.
Win your division. I think it's a tough year to do that. The NFC North's going to be fairly strong as long as the people stay healthy.
Yeah.
Remember the one year we thought the NFC North was going to be ridiculously good, and then all of the quarterbacks went down? Who was it? Bradford went down. Bradford went down.
Laid out the red carpet for the Lions.
Exactly, and they still blew it. It was Bradford went down. Rodgers went down. So your starting quarterbacks were Mitch Trubisky, Case Keenum, who actually ended up being pretty good. Yeah. Got a big contract out of that, actually. Case Keenum, Sam Bradford, Mitch Trubisky, and Matthew Stafford.
Sam Bradford came out for a little bit and then got hurt again.
Yes, then he got hurt again. Yeah. And that was the year after Sam Bradford had like the record-breaking season for completion percentage.
Sam Bradford's a quarterback who can never stay healthy in his career.
No, there's been a few of them, but he was definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if you saw this today. This is kind of off topic, but I don't know if you saw this today. Did you see Bleacher Report's article of their top 25 quarterbacks of all time get released?
No, I did not.
This is why I don't consider Bleacher Report to be a reliable source. Why anything an analyst from Bleacher Report puts out, I immediately throw in the trash can. Take a guess on who they had as the as the 25th greatest quarterback of all time. Take a guess.
Let me ask you a couple hints. Is it current quarterback?
Yes. Technically he's not retired.
He's technically not retired.
Yes, but I don't think he's technically on a team anymore. If he is, he's not playing. I will guarantee you he is not playing.
That is interesting.
I'll give you a hint. He played last year.
Oh, he did play last year.
Yes. He was a starting quarterback last year. I'll give you another hint. He's also a former number 1 overall pick.
This is a doozy. If you say Sam Bradford.
No. Almost as bad.
Okay. Former number 1 overall pick. Probably not on a team this year, but he did play and start for a team last year.
He may technically still be on their roster, but he is not going to be on their active roster this season. If anything, he's on their IR.
Number 1 overall pick.
Mm-hmm. It was honestly, as far back as I can remember, the first edition of the tank for a player that I've seen openly advertised on SportsCenter. Granted, it probably happened well before him, but that's just the furthest one back that I can remember. Give you a hint. He's not on the team he was drafted by.
Number 1 pick.
Mm-hmm. Not on the team he was
Alex Smith.
Yes. Do you think he is the 25th greatest quarterback of all time?
No, I'm curious to see who.
I wouldn't even put him in the top 50.
I'm curious to see who got left off the list then.
I can pull it up. Give me 2 seconds. Go ahead and comment on the rest of the Lions stuff, the USA Today stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, I basically said my piece with it as far as the fact that, yeah, it's really harsh. Although I do agree the Lions not going to be a playoff team, I don't think 3-13 is quite where I see it at. Although I don't really have much of an issue of where he ranks the rest of the NFC North in terms of Minnesota, Chicago, Green Bay. I can totally see that being the way it falls. He has all three of them have really good seasons. Minnesota 12-4, Chicago 11-5, Green Bay at 9-7. Very strong possibility that all three of those teams could be playoff
above
/ wild card teams.
Yeah, absolutely, no question about that.
But do you want to get into the bold takes, or do you want to do this?
Let me see if I can. We can start the bold takes. Let me see if I can get this article here. If not, I'll find it on Twitter because that's where I first saw it.
Either way, 25 is kind of ridiculous for Alex Smith.
Ridiculous is an understatement.
What was their reasoning? Did they give reasoning?
They didn't have. They just listed as far as I saw it, they didn't list a reasoning. They just listed top 25 quarterbacks.
Nick Nick proposed the idea of. I think.
Okay, here we go.
I found the article, by the way.
I got it. It's right here.
Oh.
All right, so on this list, at number 1, they got Tom Brady, 2, Peyton Manning, 3, Joe Montana, which I already have problems with that because I think Joe Montana is a little bit. I would switch Broadway Joe and wait, sorry, not Broadway Joe. I would switch Joe Montana and Peyton
You
Manning.
mean Shoelace Joe Jackson?
No, Broadway Joe is Joe Namath. Then they've got Dan Marino, Johnny Unitas, Troy Aikman, Joe Namath, Roger Staubach, Terry Bradshaw at number 9. Dude won 4 Super Bowls, but he did not post good numbers. Kurt Warner at 10, Breeze at 11, John Elway at 12, which I have a problem with Elway underneath Bradshaw, let alone the rest of those guys. Steve Young, Jim Kelly, Ben Roethlisberger at 15.
Interesting.
Phillip Rivers at 16, Brett Favre at 17, should be higher in my opinion. Aaron Rodgers at 18 behind Ben Roethlisberger.
Also interesting.
Dude's already on crack. Tony Romo at 19. I'm a huge fan of Tony Romo. I'm not even going to lie. Unabashed fan. I don't think he's top 20. Then 20, Drew Bledsoe. 21, Carson Palmer. 22, Bob Greasy. 23, Phil Simms. 24, Warren Moon. 25, Alex Smith. Something right about this list.
I'm sorry, can you give me the top 5 again?
Brady, Manning, Montana, Marino, Unitas, which I'm fine with.
I thought they first. I don't know why I didn't hear Peyton Manning. Did they entirely miss Peyton Manning?
No, Peyton Manning is number 2.
They got him.
I would switch Peyton Manning, Joe Montana personally, but that's another argument. Man, some of the names.
So who are 3 quarterbacks that you put over Alex Smith right now?
Michael Vick, for one. Fran Tarkenton, I'd put over him, no question. Charlie Batch. No, I'm kidding.
Charlie Batch.
I just don't understand. Hell, I'd probably throw Eli Manning over Alex Smith.
I would, because Eli Manning...
He threw for 5,000 yards in a season.
Yeah. It's not like Alex Smith has won anything either.
Dude's never won. When the team was at its most successful was when he got hurt and Colin Kaepernick came in. Or he sucked so bad Colin Kaepernick came in. I don't even remember what the situation was. I just remember Harbaugh replacing him. Dan Fouts, I'd put over him. I mean, Frank Tarkenton, Dan Fouts. Come on, man.
Would you put
Mike
Matt Ryan
Vick
over him right now?
Yeah. Matt Ryan won an MVP. What the hell has Alex Smith ever won? Ever.
It's very.
I mean, I'm sorry, but Alex freaking Smith? Come on.
I'm surprised. I'm very surprised by that.
I think dude just picked a name out of a hat at that point. He's like, see, this is how bad their analysts are. He probably couldn't even think of 25 quarterbacks in history and just threw random ones that he could name. That's how bad that list got. Dude probably also is like 23 years old and doesn't understand that there's actually historically great quarterbacks. He just can't think of them because he never even heard of them.
Here's an honest question. One, neither have accolades. Alex Smith has been in the league a lot longer. I'm not saying this guy's a top 25 quarterback yet.
Alex Smith's not even top 50 in my book.
But do you think
Alex Smith, in my opinion, is one of the biggest disappointments in like that for a number 1 pick, as highly touted as him as I can remember. Dude never won anything, and he is the definition of a system quarterback.
In an overall ranking right now, not just top 25, an overall ranking right now, would you put Alex Smith over Andrew Luck?
In terms of...
I think no doubt in my mind, Andrew Luck finishes his career above Alex
I think
Smith.
Andrew Luck is a better quarterback than Alex Smith. Does he have the accolades or the pedigree to be ranked higher than him? Probably not yet. Yeah. But Alex Smith's been in the league like twice as long as him. Yeah, and that's why. Yeah. Andrew Luck is a better quarterback than Alex Smith ever was. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. Alex Smith had one great season with Kansas City when he had weapons freaking galore. Outside of that, dude was kind of just nothing more than a system QB.
There's a local one for you. Would you put Bobby Lane above Alex Smith?
Probably.
He did win championships.
Yeah. Dude was a good quarterback. Great quarterback.
Curse of franchise.
He's a Hall of Famer.
For years. Name one other quarterback that's cursed a franchise.
True.
His reach has extended far beyond his career.
You look at, honest to God, can you look at Alex Smith's career and say that's a Hall of Fame career? Hell no.
No, I don't think so.
Dude's never won a damn thing.
25
Dude's never been in like the top 10 in stats outside of one freaking season.
Top 25 quarterback means Hall of Fame.
I know. There's Hall of Fame quarterbacks that aren't on that list. Frank Tarkenton, for God's sakes. But come on, man. This is why I don't consider Bleacher Report legitimate anymore. I take their analyst pieces and throw them in the trash can, and they're garbage. They're worse than ESPN, in my opinion, sometimes. Sometimes, not always, sometimes.
Were there comments on the article or post, wherever it was?
Oh, dude, people were trashing them on Twitter today. Trashing them. Literally, someone went Alex Smith ? And then just a bunch of laughing, crying emojis. That was their only response. I saw gifs of people like falling out of chairs laughing. Like, dude.
All right, let's get this bold take.
All right, bold takes from the NFC North. All right, I'll go first. Mine.
If you take mine, I give up.
The Chicago Bears will
the USA Today already took my first one.
1, the Chicago Bears will 1, not win the division.
Okay.
2, will not have a top 5 defense, maybe not even top 10 this season.
Interesting.
Will not finish in the top 5 in defensive metrics this season. Reasons? Their defense put up over 30 turnovers last year. Mm-hmm. That's insane. And also had like 6 defensive touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Those numbers have no correlation from season to season. You don't keep up those numbers. Mm-hmm. They're ridiculous. Look at the Jaguars from 2 years ago. They had an ungodly amount of turnovers or takeaways and an ungodly amount of defensive touchdowns. And I said at the beginning of the year, this team will not make the playoffs. They will take a massive step back in their defense. It was too turnover reliant. It's the exact same situation with the Bears. Too turnover reliant. There you go. That's a situation that's taking advantage of situational aspects that are not necessarily random, but have a little bit of luck involved, especially defensive touchdowns. There is no correlation from season to season on takeaways and defensive touchdowns. They don't translate year over year. The last time a team went 2 straight years with 30-plus takeaways was like the 2010-2011 Packers, and before that, it hadn't happened even longer. It doesn't happen. So if a team is turnover reliant like that, that's not necessarily a good thing. That doesn't mean their defense is as good as advertised. I expect the Bears to still be a really good defense, maybe top 10. I don't think they're a top 5 defense without those turnovers, and I don't see them getting those turnovers this year. Not as much. I expect them to finish more middle of the road in takeaways. No. You always come back to the mean. Always come back to the middle at some point. It's like the whole if you win all of your games that are within 7, that are within 1 score 1 year, you're probably not going to the next year because those are kind of like just situational wins that you just happen to have the ball at the right time of the game to put you up by less than a score. Same exact argument. Data proves this. I don't expect the Bears to finish top 5 defensively, and I don't expect the Bears to win the division as a result.
My bold take, I'm going to the offensive end. And this one's staying local with the Lions. And this is a two-parter. Part 1 of 2. Lions will have the best running game in the NFC North.
Whoa!
Part 2 of 2, and this is the bolder part.
That's a bold-ass take right there. Whoa.
Part 2 of 2. And this is the bolder part of the take. Lions will have the best. A Lions running back will post the most rushing yards in the NFC North.
Not even going to lie, my nipples are hard right now. Like, that's the truth. If that happens, honestly, you're not that crazy to say that. I just wonder if...
And by Lions running back, I mean Kerryon Johnson.
I just wonder if there's injury. Like, obviously, this is without injury, but I wonder if he's going to get enough usage to get there. Because I expect Aaron Jones to be around 750 yards. I expect Tariq Cohen to be close to 800-900.
Dalvin Cook's the one I'm really worried about.
Dalvin Cook
that's where it gets risky.
Very well could get up towards 1,000, if not more.
That's where it gets risky.
I just wonder if Kerryon's going to get the usage with C.J. Anderson being back there, because Darrell Bevel does like to use a committee.
Yeah, I mean,
I just wonder if you're going to see him rely on a bell, if him is going to be able to be a bell cow and stay healthy enough and stay on the field to get you 1,000 yards. Now, you're not that far off. I saw a prediction earlier today. I don't remember who posted it out there that said Kerryon Johnson will eclipse 1,000 yards this year. He will be the first Lions running back since Reggie Bush to eclipse 1,000 yards. Quick trivia question: Who was the last Lions running back to hit 1,000 yards rushing before Reggie Bush? In what year?
Kevin Smith.
Wrong. Close.
Kevin Jones.
Kevin Jones in 2004 was the last running back before Reggie Bush to hit a 1,000-yard season.
Kevin Jones. I remember. I used to really like that guy.
I did too.
I used to really like
He was
that
another
guy.
case of injuries, wasn't he?
Kevin Jones, yeah, I think he had a foot problem.
Yeah, and then
mistaken.
Reggie Bush was the concussion issue. And then
Javid Best was the concussion
Javid
issue.
Best was
He
the
would've
concussion
been
issue.
something.
Javid
He
Best
was
would have been something.
explosive. Anyway,
He seriously was.
part of my
But dude had like
reasoning-
5 concussions in college.
part of my reasoning, so the Vikings look like they are going to feature Dalvin Cook more in their offense this year.
No question.
Because they did let Latavius Murray walk. But here's the thing: is
Honestly, dude hasn't been any good in a while, so that doesn't surprise me.
he spelled Dalvin Cook very well last year. It was
His career rushing average is below 4.0, if I recall.
I know, but it was a really good one. It was a really good 1-2 punch, and it kept.
I'll give it that. They did have
yeah.
a good 1-2
And they-
punch. I don't think Latavius Murray in this day and age is a number 1 running back in any
and
offense.
it kept the defense on their toes. I don't think there's enough back there to spell Dalvin Cook. I don't think Dalvin Cook himself is going to be good enough to. I'm not saying 100,000 yards or anything like that, but I don't think
I stand corrected 4.1.
I don't think
for
Dalvin
Latavius
Cook
Murray.
is going to be as good this season as many would hope he would be with the departure of Latavius Murray, because I do think he's going to get overused and exposed to defenses.
He also
to the
doesn't
point
really
where-
show a knack to stay healthy.
Yeah, to that too, to the point where I think he get figured out. Whereas with the Lions, I do think Kerryon Johnson will be more so. I do feel like Kerryon Johnson will be more so the feature back. I really do. I do like the change of pace that C.J. Anderson offers, that Theoretic offers back there, and the fact that Kerryon Johnson.
How much do you think Theo Riddick gets utilized this year?
Like usual, just exclusively passing game?
I think it's going to be less. I think Theo Riddick could be a. I don't want this to happen. I don't quite think it'll happen. I think it's something we need to pay attention to, though. As training camp goes on, Theo Riddick may be a cut possibility. He was last training camp. I think there's something that, because remember, Kerryon Johnson is going to be utilized more and more in the passing game as time goes by.
True.
And there's not a lot of room in that backfield. The more Kerryon
he's
Johnson,
proven very capable.
exactly. So there's not a lot of room. If Kerryon Johnson's taking up passing downs, there's not a lot of room back there for Theo Riddick. Because how many running backs are you going to keep? Because you got to remember, Zenner's on the team too.
Yeah. I will say I do like the reason that part 1 I think is a really easy prediction for me to make is I do think the Lions do have the best stable of running backs in the division.
I won't disagree with you there. The Packers' defensive backfield, I think, gives them a run for their money if it weren't for the fact that they didn't know how to utilize it properly.
Yeah.
But then again, they do have a new offensive system there this year and a new head coach. That may change. I also think that watch out for Tariq Cohen, man. Dude, I don't know if I trust. I don't trust him as an every down back.
Not at all.
You don't look at a 5'7" dude and say he's an every
I
down
want to see
back.
if they bring
but
in the spell Tariq Cohen, because Tariq Cohen's not going to do it all himself.
I'm actually curious who is on their roster.
It's not Jordan Howard.
I know that he's in Philly.
But anyway, so Kerryon Johnson he's really started hitting his stride last year before he got hurt, and I just expect that to just that production to continue to increase. So I'm expecting 1,000 yards from Kerryon Johnson this year. I would hope he hits 1,000 yards, and I think 1,000 yards puts him in the conversation to be the leading rusher in the NFC North, and I'm hoping he does it.
I hope he does too. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's got a good shot to do it. I do worry about Dalvin Cook for sure.
Yeah, that's the one guy I really worry about.
Mike Davis is the backup to Tariq Cohen, and he's a guy who has been able to carry some load. He did in Seattle for a while, and was actually pretty effective at times. He's no Jordan Howard, but how do you think Jordan Howard's going to do in Philly? That's one of those situations where they never use anymore. They never use a bell cow, but who else do they have there? They just re-signed Darren Sproles' 40-year-old ass.
They had a true committee.
They do have Jamal Adams, or not Jamal Adams, Josh Adams. Sorry, Josh Adams.
There you go, from
I do
Notre
believe
Dame.
he's still there, and he actually, I believe, led the team in rushing with 570 yards. That tells you the true committee.
They have what's his face too. The guy's been on their team forever. Not
Wendell Smallwood.
That guy, Wendell Smallwood. I kept wanting to say Westbrook.
Remember the tandem of Brian Westbrook and Corey Buckhalter? That was a legit
I used
team
to
back
love that.
there,
I just love
man.
that team in general.
The Donovan McNabb.
Wait a minute.
that was the Donovan McNabb, Terrell Owens, Brian Westbrook, Corey Buckhalter team.
I'm looking at the
Team
Eagles'
was filthy.
depth chart right now, and the only 3 running backs I see listed. This can't be right. This is from ESPN. Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders, Corey Clement.
Really? Well, they just re-signed Darren Sproles. That was announced yesterday.
But what happened to Josh Adams and Wendell Smallwood?
I don't know. I thought they were still on the team. I might be wrong. But anyways, no, I can get on board with the Lions having the best running back tandem in the NFC North. Mm-hmm. Just based on the fact that I think they've got 2 of the more talented running backs back there. I mean, C.J. Anderson was a 1,000-yard rusher, I think,
I see
twice?
nothing about him not being on the Eagles. Josh Adams, at least. I don't know about Wendell Smallwood.
Just to make sure I get this accurately. Sorry, 1,000-yard rusher once. He came close another season. But he's a guy, when given opportunity, has really made taken quite a bit of advantage of it. Yeah. So, and I think he'll get some good opportunities. Yeah. And I think Patricia and Darrell Bevel are going to look at their backfield and try to keep Kerryon as healthy and fresh as possible, which is the smart thing in my opinion.
And keep in mind, this was in a Jim Bob Cooter offense that really could not move the ball.
It's no joke.
Some of the things I've been hearing from Darrell Bevel, I do think that this offense is going to open up, including the added weapons that Matthew Stafford got in the tight end area. I do think this offense is going to open up a little more, and I think that it's obviously going to bode very well from the run game too. So you have that going for him.
I going back to the whole 3-win prediction thing. I just look at the talent on the offensive side of the ball, and you got to have more than 3 wins with that. Yeah. Kenny Galladay has a potential to be a breakout candidate this year at wide receiver. Dude's a monster. He's mini Megatron, as people are, I think, overselling him a little bit, but.
He's good, though.
Kerryon Johnson showed big-time flashes last year and is a really big breakout candidate as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying he is a breakout candidate. Matt Stafford had his worst season of his career.
Yep.
I expect him to be better. You added C.J. Anderson. You still got Marvin Jones. You added T.J. Hawkinson, who was supposed to be the next big thing at tight end. You added Jesse James, who was a legitimate red zone threat. How does this team not win more than 3 games? They got talent, and a lot of it on offense. Yeah, I know not all of their and not all of their talent is necessarily in the right spots, I guess. You know, I would like to see a little bit more talent on the right side of the line. Don't get me wrong, I love Ragnow Swanson, or not, Swanson, there's a name. Ragnow, Glasgow. I love those 2 guys at their spots, especially now that I've seen them trying out Ragnow at center, moving Glasgow to guard, which I think is actually better for this team. And I like Taylor Decker. I'd like to see him take a step up this year, honestly. But I think they got talent, man. I really do.
I agree with you.
It just got to come together.
So real quick before we to end the show here, let's do a couple movie things here because we haven't done that in a while. First, I want you to throw out a question that you posted me earlier today that I think was a really interesting question. If you want to.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were going to ask the question. Sorry. I was just kind of looking at you blankly. Yes, so the question was, and actually, I'm not going to take full credit for this because I did see this a little bit kind of similarly worded question. It was by John Campy on Twitter.
Interesting.
One of my favorite movie follows. He said, and so I kind of worded it my own way, whether he basically the question is, seeing as how Avengers Endgame has now passed or surpassed Avatar in worldwide grossing box office grossing number, is Avatar the last time we will see a one-off or solo movie take over the box office record, or is the next time this happens going to be another culmination of a decade-long series with 21 movies like Avengers was? His wording of it was, do you put an asterisk next to this because of the fact that it's a decade-long investment essentially?
Yeah. His exact tweet says, considering Avatar with inflation is still ahead and that Endgame was a beneficiary of a 21-movie, 11-year build-up, do you consider Avengers Endgame to be the legitimate biggest film of all time?
Exactly. That was the question. I worded it my own way in saying, like, is this the last time we see a one-off taking a solo film, not in a series, take over the box office record? So I posed that to you. Obviously, I didn't get an answer because you were busy today. But I posed to you. So I want to know your thoughts. I'll give mine as well.
To start to answer Campia's question, I don't put an asterisk next to it. I don't fault it for having an 11-year build-up.
I don't put an asterisk.
I think that makes it all the more special to me, at least.
I don't know if special is the right word.
Let's put it this way: it makes it even bigger. I'm not talking box office wise, but just as a film, makes it bigger to me because of how much is built leading into it. How much film history is culminating into this one movie.
That I can get on. That I can agree with. However, I don't think. I think in terms of that aspect, yes, I'll agree with you. I'm going to disagree on the sense of, to me at least, and to a lot of people that I've talked to about this topic or similar topics, Avatar seemed like just a bigger event for filmmaking and for the film industry as a whole than Avengers did. Well, Avengers was a culmination of a 21 movie, 11 year,
massive, unprecedented.
They were
feats in film.
And I'll finish my thought here. But it was, well, yes, it was a culmination of 11 years. I also I'm also in the belief that Avatar changed the entire genre of sci-fi movies as a whole, whereas Avengers Endgame I don't think changes anything. We're going to get another movie just like it. I don't think Avengers Endgame changes anything in my mind.
What way did Avatar change sci-fi?
Dude, it changed the entire aspect, the entire movie genre in terms of what is the next level of. It became the standard for sci-fi. It became the standard for special effects. Avengers is not that. And it never will be.
Definitely became the standard.
It became the standard, and it forced the sci-fi genre and the special effects teams to then up their game. And that's why movies like Avengers Endgame are even possible, are because of movies like Avatar stepping up so big that now everybody else has to try to beat that. Avatar, even watching it today, is still groundbreaking in terms of special effects. Today! That movie's like 12 years old, man.
Yeah, and so I'm saying, you watch Avatar today, it's still, it's a testament to how good the special effects are that they still hold up.
Exactly.
How special effects heavy the movie was.
That's genre changing that it still holds up. 12, when did that movie come out? 2008?
2009, I think.
2009. So 10 years later, those special effects still hold up to today's standards.
I will say this:
look at a video game from 2009 and now today.
The difference between what Avengers did and what Avatar did. I think of like a snowball. Think of a snowball rolling down a hill. At the top of the hill, you have Avengers 2000. Not Avengers. Sorry.
Oh, you're not wrong. It is like a snowball.
It had this time to culminate and get bigger and bigger and bigger. So by the time it reached that bottom of the hill, it reached the finish line. It was this giant snow boulder.
Right. But
Whereas Avatar was a boulder that just came in on its own.
It was like a hurricane that came out of nowhere.
So what I'm saying is what I'm trying to get at with that weird analogy is.
But then at that point,
let me get to my point. What I'm getting at here is the fact that the only way a standalone film can do the kind of box office
is to be groundbreaking
money.
Again.
Exactly, you have to be it doesn't have to be the same way Avatar was. It has to be groundbreaking in its own way.
And it has to be groundbreaking in a genre that's
the same way that Avatar was groundbreaking, the same way that Avengers was groundbreaking. The next movie we do,
I don't think Avengers is very groundbreaking. I don't think Avengers did anything that Avatar didn't.
Dude, it did. The culmination itself is groundbreaking.
We've seen culminations of series.
We haven't seen an 11-year build-up like this before.
Okay, but that's not Avengers Endgame itself doing that, though. That's not Avengers Endgame itself doing that. That's my point here is, wouldn't you argue that because of the snowball effect that Avengers Endgame got quite a bit of help from the previous movies?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what
I'm saying, though, is that's where you can make the argument of the asterisk comes from for Avengers Endgame itself. Not for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but for the Avengers Endgame itself is where the asterisk comes from. Because this isn't a movie just in itself. This is a culmination of 21 movies, which in itself, yes, is very special and very amazing.
And to balance it all in one movie is a very difficult feat. It's impressive they're able to pull it off so well.
Yes, but I don't think it makes that movie. I don't think Avengers Endgame does anything that Avengers didn't outside Avatar did. The outside for the genre, outside of just being a culmination film, outside of being a pinnacle moment.
So I'm trying to say they're groundbreaking in their own ways. They're not the
I don't
same
consider
groundbreaking.
again. I don't know that Avengers is groundbreaking. I don't think this is going to change the movie genre of superhero films in any way. Avatar changed sci-fi. I don't think Avengers Endgame changes superhero filmmaking.
You don't think other franchises are going to try to do what Endgame did?
No, because I don't think it's possible. I'll be honest with you.
Very tough feat. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think. I think you found absolute magic in a
You
bottle
saw DC
here.
try to do it, and they failed
Well,
miserably.
DC sucks at everything they touch. Harry Potter did it.
They have not yet.
They've released the final two movies were culminations. They
It was
were
just the end of a series. It was
but they were culminations of
like,
what they did. It was a culmination of a storyline.
It's like taking like what Avengers did is like you take Harry Potter and then you take Fantastic Beasts and you take a third like
right.
series.
They took a universe and put it into a culmination. They just took a series, but they still had a culmination moment at the end of the series that was bigger than the rest. Not necessarily better than the rest, and I actually am going to stand. I'll die on a hill about
I'll
that.
stand on the hill with you.
But again, I don't think what I think Avengers and Marvel did. I think the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe itself is groundbreaking. I don't think Avengers Endgame itself is groundbreaking. I think the whole universe is. Because Avengers Endgame does not equal the universe. The universe equals Avengers Endgame. It's kind of that definitely obviously came before Avengers Endgame, and Avengers Endgame was just part of something bigger. Versus Avatar was that something bigger. Avatar changed the the sci-fi genre. Avengers Endgame itself, I don't think changes anything in that genre, in the sci-fi or superhero genre. It just is a pinnacle moment in something that it's a pinnacle moment in something that changed the genre. The MCU changed the genre. Yeah. But I don't think Avengers Endgame itself did. If you get what I'm saying there.
But the Avengers Endgame is basically
is
MCU in one movie. It's basically like the.
I don't think so. I don't think so though, because if you only watch Avengers Endgame, you don't watch the whole thing. If Avengers Endgame was the MCU, you could only watch that film and that's it.
No, I'm not saying that you can watch the one film and digest, but it was all the MCU, everything that went into the MCU.
It is probably the biggest part of something that changed the genre, but it itself did not change the genre. The MCU changed the genre, not Avengers Endgame. And that's why I'll look at Avatar as still being a more momentous moment because of what it did for the sci-fi genre as a whole. It changed the game. The MCU changed the game. Avatar changed the game. That's where I look at Avatar as being up here in terms of groundbreaking and Avengers Endgame down here, but that's underneath an umbrella of this MCU that honestly you can even argue is even bigger than Avatar. Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it. You could definitely argue that, and I'd probably lean that way for sure. However,
we'll see what James Cameron does with Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Right, but that was 12 years down the road. Yeah. Like that was a long time after, and I don't necessarily think it was a good idea. Just throwing that out there.
To wait that long, or just to do sequels?
Just to do sequels. Yeah. I think why do we always got to do sequels, man? Like when you hit a genie in a bottle here, when you find a genie in a bottle, when you strike lightning somewhere. You don't. It's almost impossible to strike lightning to strike twice in the same place, man. It's hard, especially 12 years later. Yeah. Like it's hard. Everybody who saw Avatar, like you have just a different group of people now that are going to movies. Like it's not the same.
Yeah. So
we don't need to put sequels to everything. I get the idea, and that may have been something in his mind from the beginning. But why did it take so long then?
So we do got to close out real quick. So
let me ask the question then. Going back to my question. Will a situation like Avatar of a solo film ever be at the top ever again?
Only if it does something groundbreaking like Avatar Avengers, then we got to think about was Avengers groundbreaking. But
I'm going to say no. I don't think it will, even if there is something groundbreaking. Reason being, one, I think you found lightning in a bottle here, and I don't think lightning strikes twice in the same place. I think you found that with Avatar. Two, if you notice a very common and very outwardly trend of the financials behind movies and where the money is going to.
It's going to big franchises.
It's going to the franchises. Yeah. You could have one of the greatest movies ever made. You could have one of the greatest movies ever made come out. It will not even come close to one of the franchise films. Yeah. Even the bad ones. Look at Batman vs. Superman. Yeah. That was a bad movie. It raked in straight up cash because it was part of a huge franchise.
850 is what Batman vs Superman did. If not,
I think it hit $1 billion, but it raked in straight cash.
872.
There are very few solo films that even hit that number, and that's a bad movie. Franchises is where the money is at.
If it was actually a good movie, also.
Right.
You had no one going to see it twice. That was what was happening.
But the franchises are the ones where the movies that are bringing in the money. The massive universes, the franchises, things like that. You don't see the solo one-off films make that kind of money, and it's because people don't. People don't feel worthy them worthy of putting that much time invested into it.
Yeah.
Versus when I know a lot of people that straight up said, I've seen 20 other films, I have to go see the 21st. Regardless of if it's good or not, I have to go see it.
Yeah.
And it's true. You've invested all this time, you're going to go see it. There's a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
But it's not the same with and people, because of films like that, people are shying away from some of these solo one-off films. So I don't think we ever will see a situation like Avatar ever again, because that's not where the money's going.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, real quick, let's do a brief Comic-Con discussion. We'll just do the biggest news of the weekend with Comic-Con. Marvel announced their Phase 4 slate.
Yes.
They confirmed
Thor,
confirmed 5
Love and
movies.
Thunder.
Yeah, you got Thor, Love and
Got
Thunder.
an 80s rom-com superhero film.
Thor, Love and Thunder. Well, let's start with the most recent, Black Widow, which is next
Yes.
year, and the Eternals, which is apparently next year. Then you have Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings, Doctor Strange, and the Multiverse of Madness, and Thor, Love and Thunder.
Multiverse of Madness. That's such a weird name.
Those are some weird-ass names in this. All right, so
Do you think
those
any of them
5
get
movies-
renamed?
I don't think so.
No?
The last one is 2 years out. So
That is true. Which is a lot sooner than we expected.
yeah. So
I thought we were getting a break for at least
all
a
the
couple
movies
of years.
that were announced, and you also, those are the ones that were announced with release dates. Without release dates, you also had Blade, Black Panther 2,
Right.
Fantastic Four, Captain Marvel 2, Guardians Volume 3, X-Men. But I'm gonna leave those out. I'm just gonna give you the ones with release dates. So it's the first 5. Which one are you looking forward to the most?
Between Thor.
Thor: Love and Thunder, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings, Eternals, Black Widow.
Honestly, Thor.
Thor: Love and Thunder.
They're adding Natalie Portman to the mix as
Back
Thor
into the
goddess.
mix. Yeah.
Back into the mix as Jane Foster, goddess of thunder, which is that's from the comic books. I want to see how that
You have your first
correlates.
LGBT character. And,
you do in Valkyrie. I want to see how it's going to pan out. I think there's a lot at stake and a lot at play here that I will find to be very interesting. And also, this could turn into essentially Thor becoming Asgardian of the Galaxy as opposed to Thor as traditional, and then you see him move over to the Guardians movies versus Natalie Portman as Thor.
Yeah, we thought we already saw that at the end of Endgame.
Right.
That's why I was
But
very
now this could
confused
be
about Thor
confirming
4.
that,
Yeah.
and whereas my theory behind it was you're going to see him in both movies as a main character in both, much like we see with a lot of the MCU movies now, is a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
So I expected to see him in a lot of both, especially considering those are 2 of the bigger ones. But I'd probably say Thor would be the one I'm most looking forward to. Second, probably be the Doctor Strange film. I think Doctor Strange is an awesome character.
Yeah.
And then the rest are from there.
Yeah. For me, I think the one I'm looking
If they add Keanu Reeves to the Eternals, for sure.
Yeah. For me, I think the one I'm looking forward to the most, and you know how much I love my my martial arts movies. So Shang-Chi
is going to be pretty sweet.
natural fit for me. Shang-Chi Legend of 10 Rings, I'm really looking forward to that. And then I think number 2 for me, as much as I love Thor Ragnarok, I'm just really intrigued by that Multiverse of Madness name. And I think it's just going to
That is true.
giant, mind-blowing movie. So I actually might give Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness my number 2, because I do like when movies just get all
That's
weird.
such just a weird name to me. It's almost like overly cheesy, but it sounds cool in the sense of what could happen here.
I feel like you get really funky with it. I really do. But that's why that edges into number 2. Naturally, just based on the past movies and stuff, it'd be Thor all day.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the past movie. The other ones have not been that great.
I like Thor 1. I didn't
Thor,
like
Thor 1
World.
was
I did
okay,
not like
but Dark World was terrible.
It's insane that you go out to watch Thor 1 how different Thor 1 and Thor Ragnarok are.
Oh, I know.
my
Well,
God.
you could tell by the creative minds behind it, too.
Kenneth
I mean,
Branagh
Taika
more-
Waititi coming in changed that
Kenneth
entire
Branagh's more of a
series.
Shakespearean
Yeah.
influence. So, I just wanted to get to those announcements and then see what which one you liked more. Now, if I were to add in the announced but no dates, which is Fantastic Four, Blade, Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, Guardians
The fact that we're
3,
getting another Fantastic Four movie scares me.
X-Men, but there's finally one back in Marvel's wheelhouse. But do any of those crack your
Black
top?
Panther 2. I am seriously curious where they take that story.
Yeah.
Black Panther 1 was a momentous
does
achievement.
that top Thor, Doctor Strange for you in terms of anticipation?
It might. Honestly, it might. I am not a believer that Black Panther is this massive event like so many people are. I thought it was a good but not great movie. I don't think it was deserving of award nominations that it got.
Well, you can see why it was an event, though.
Yeah, I know that aspect of it, yes. But in terms of just movie making, I didn't think it was that big. Like, it was a good but not great film. But I'm very curious to see how they follow it up.
Yeah.
And I know Marvel loves to one-up itself in the MCU and just make the next one bigger and better. And as big as Black Panther was, that makes me only even more excited about Black Panther 2. Kind of in the same vein of why I'm so excited about the next Thor. You have Taika Waititi himself trying to one-up his last showing. So I'm excited for both those in that same respect because I know Marvel loves to pull a one up on itself with these movies.
And for me, normally I'd say X-Men's one of the most excited for, but as soon as they announced Mahershala Ali's Blade, that one skyrocketed.
That is definitely one that's like, oh, that's sweet because that is an awesome casting. Mahershala Ali is an awesome actor.
I think I'd probably put that. Does it crack my top 3? That's the question. It might. I put it at 4 for now. Just because I can't put it above Thor because of how much trust Taika Waititi. Because I don't have that same attachment a lot of people do to the Wesley Snipes Blade movies. I don't have that kind of attachment to it.
Right.
And then I'm just way too curious what you can do.
Okay,
with
Wesley
Multiverse
Snipes
of
is not
Madness.
that good of an actor, and he kind of does take away. I don't mind him, but he's not that good of an actor. He doesn't really add that much to a
Yeah,
movie.
but those Blade movies weren't bad. Like, people
No, they're
have,
not
like,
bad
attachments.
movies.
Yeah.
They're not bad movies. They're good movies, but I just don't. I feel like Mahershala Ali is going to be a far better.
Oh, I think it's going to be a
actor
better.
for it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a better Blade movie.
I just don't think Wesley. I feel like Wesley Snipes is one of those guys that's just there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Anyway, that's the show. That's the pod.
Yes, that is the podcast for this week, guys. Thank you for listening. Andrew, thank you for joining me. Don't forget to check out our live show, www.twitch.tv/The Fan Report. Follow us on Twitter at Real Fan Report. Thank you again to Detroit Sports Podcast. Andrew, anything else to add?
Yeah. Well, this doesn't come out till Wednesday, but not anything else to add.
Okay. All right, then. Well, thank you guys for listening. That's all, folks. No, this has been the Fan Report. Bye, fans.
4 fans.
Thank you guys again, and we'll catch you next week. Have a good one.
Peace.